there. I'm going to check this to make sure that it's going. And I can edit this out later. Yep, there it goes. And welcome to Let's Record It here on the 110 Broadcasting Network. It's David Stiles along with my co-host Craig Messer. Craig, how are you doing today?
Good, David. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a busy week of football kind of all around. I mean, we've and that's just what's going on in this sports cycle. I know I'm back behind the mic this weekend, Mooresville getting ready to take on Cox Mill at Coach Joe Pop Stadium. So if you're up my way, come hang out. Come to a Mooresville football game. Or if you're not in the area, you tune us up on 1350 WHIP.com and listen to yours truly call some football. It's a lot of fun for me. They're actually pretty good this year, 3-0 so far. So I'm excited for their first conference game. So
yeah, even if you're not in the area, you can listen to the best play-by-play guy in the business.
Oh, come on. You're flattering me.
I almost said some off-color words there by accident. So.
Man, but I mean, just it's been a crazy week just for sports in general. The Braves have already locked up the NL East title, so that's huge. Sixth in a row.
20 games left? Am I right? Like 20 games?
20-something games left.
That's insane. Yeah, honestly.
Absolutely mind-blowing. Then we have the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers where he plays 4 snaps and then blows his Achilles. And to me, and I want to get your opinions on this too, and for me, it's not the fact that he got hurt. I mean, he's an older quarterback. Things like that happen. That's just kind of out of your control. People go, well, the offensive line should have played better. Like, no, it was a freak accident. I mean, tearing your Achilles is not something that happens just all the time. We're seeing an increase of it with the particular style of field that they have now. But
gotta go back to grass.
I think so. I think a lot of people are saying that the turf is better for your knees and for your joints and for being tackled on. But for me, the Bermuda grass that we had at high school when we were there, I thought was the best stuff on the planet. It looked good.
Beautiful.
You could paint over it. Once it got down toward the end of the season, it would go dormant so they wouldn't have to mow it, and it held up really, really well. So for me, I hope that more football teams go toward that kind of playing surface because I do think that these injuries, especially with the turf toe, tearing the Achilles, more ankle injuries. We're seeing a lot more high ankle sprains. I think that the playing surface has a big part in those particular injuries, and I think that's one of the reasons why Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah, I agree with you. Did you see the guy that said like 2 hours before on Twitter, well, is it X now technically, that Aaron Rodgers was going to tear his Achilles tonight in on the rainy turf?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, it was like 6:30, and he sent that out.
Oh my gosh!
And people are like, he knew the script. He leaked the script.
It makes me almost think that it's real, but no, it's not. I mean, it can't be. If it was all staged and like WWE, and I know some people will hate for me to say that, but I mean, and those guys are real athletes. I mean, they are real athletes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they do some death-defying stunts, but at the end of the day, it's scripted. I mean, they know who's going to win, and it's weird to me that people bet on it because I'm like, they already know. Like,
I didn't know people bet on that.
I don't know if they can actually bet on it, but they have odds of like, okay, who do you think is going to win? And I'm like, dude, they already know. Like, it's like a soap opera. Like, it's been decided. Minus some major injury, and then they have to reevaluate the end of the match. But it's already been decided. I don't think the NFL is that way. I think it has the potential to be that way.
We can have an entire discussion on this because it's a subject that I never even thought about until maybe 2018. But it's interesting. There's some. I'm not gonna say evidence because I guess it's not technically evidence, but there's some interesting theories and interesting points that people make that could lead you to believe it actually is maybe not fully scripted, but a little more planned than we think.
Yeah, and for me, I think that it would be very hard to maintain that level.
It would be. And it would be hard. It would be hard to keep everybody quiet.
Yes,
exactly. I mean, somebody's going to spill it, but I'm the conspiracy guy though. I love this type of thing, whether true or not. I like looking at it and just kind of imagining, what could be. So,
yeah. And it's just like when people say, well, NASCAR's all scripted. I'm like, no, if it was, Dale Jr. would have won like 1 million championships.
That's probably the best reasoning to say it's not scripted right there.
Yeah. And that's the reason why it's not scripted. And I don't think that the NFL
that
is
would have
scripted
been
either.
huge for, I'm not a NASCAR fan, but that would have been huge for that sport. If he was just 10-time champion, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
5-time champion. I mean, that would have been a big deal. They would have made so much more money like that. If it was scripted, that's what would have happened.
Oh, exactly.
You're right.
And so for me, it's crazy that guy tweeted that out a couple hours before that game.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I could
maybe
that
there
about
are some
every quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there are some
game.
clairvoyant people as well. I mean, you don't know. So,
but for all we know, there's, like I said, there's tweets like that everywhere. They only get attention if it happens.
Exactly.
So I don't really. Who knows? I could say anything about anybody, and if it happened 1,000,000 to 1, it's going to get acknowledged. So
that's very true. And
I like to think it's scripted though, because that makes me feel a little less bad about how terrible the Panthers are.
Oh,
so
man,
it's like it actually makes the sting of 2015 a little worse though.
Oh man,
but I feel like if it is scripted, we are due. Like they've got to eventually pay us back for letting Peyton Manning have that Super Bowl.
Yeah, they should.
So we've got to eventually get a ring. I just hope it's in the next 50 years, so I see it. So.
Well, I mean, to me, I think it's cool that we've had a local team go to the Super Bowl twice within my lifetime. I mean, some teams don't get that opportunity. And for me, I think that Atlanta game was kind of a perfect kind of microcosm for maybe how this year is going to go. Where there's some points in the game where I thought, man, we really look good. Yeah, there were tons. And the defense played extremely well. I mean, that first whole series with Brian Burns, getting a sack, and then Derek Brown swatting down the first pass of the game, and Ritter having to catch his own pass. To me, those things speak that, hey, we're going to be pretty good. We just need a little bit of time. And then Jesse Bates had a career day for the Falcons on defense. 3 turnovers altogether, 2 interceptions and a forced fumble, and that's pretty much why we didn't win the game. When you turn the ball over on offense, it's just not going to happen for you.
We gave them the ball, 3 times in great position for them. I mean, they just, like you said, it's hard to beat a team when you turn it over 3 times like that. But my thinking and what scares me is if a team led by Desmond Ritter can beat us, who can't? You know what I mean? Because Derek Carr is a better quarterback, 1,000%.
Oh, definitely.
And now we have to play the Saints, and I don't see how we beat the Saints. And I don't see it, and I don't see how we beat Baker Mayfield, Tampa. For all of Baker's faults, I still think he's a good quarterback. I like Baker Mayfield. I am a Baker fan. I wish he would have worked out in Carolina. I think if the coaching staff would have already been switched, it would have been a totally different ball game with Baker. He just did not get the opportunity to actually do what he could do. He did not come in with attitude of success. At least,
I don't think that
don't know anything. So.
I don't think that they really gave him a fair shake. I mean,
no,
to me, it pretty much ended up being a sense where he got held out for so long with being on the Browns, and then they brought him in to have a quarterback battle, air quotes, and it just didn't. It didn't materialize to anything. I think that the upper management was tired of Sam Darnold, and they were like, we need somebody different. And to me, I think we would have been better off just riding and dying with Sam Darnold. And I like Baker Mayfield. I'm just like you. I think Baker's a good football player.
You're probably right, ultimately.
He wasn't put in a situation for success.
No. I think he'll do good in Tampa. I mean, I think they're going to at least give him a solid shake, I think. And, I mean, he did solid Sunday. Wasn't bad by any stretch.
They won.
And they won. Again, they played the Vikings, right?
Yeah, correct, with Kirk Cousins.
And that's a good team. They beat a good team Sunday. So, that's not – oh, gosh, I don't know. I don't know who the Panthers are going to get a win against in the division after seeing the other three teams. But who knows? I mean, like you said, you take the 3 turnovers away, it's a different ball game. And that's stuff that can be cleaned up and worked on. So,
I mean, I fully agree.
The O-line looked good.
I mean, the only bad part about the O-line is Brady Christensen is now going on the IR.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've have a couple of injuries in the O-line. I know Austin Corbett at some point is going to come back from ACL surgery. So, you know, that's moving in the right direction. I think having Hurst has been good. He is a all-around solid tight end. So now we're 3 deep at tight end, and I think that helps a ton. Terrence Marshall played pretty well. Adam Thielen played pretty well. So if we can get the wide receiver core a little bit more healthy, I think that will help Bryce Young a ton.
Back.
And DJ Chark, he'll come back. I think they used Laviska Shenault the right way. I'm a huge Shenault fan. I think that he is pretty much a secret weapon that we have. He can line up in the backfield. He can line up at the slot. So I hope that they start to utilize him a little bit more as the season goes on. And we saw that a little bit last year with Coach Wilkes. But I think Frank Reich, again, it's early in the season. We've played 1 game. I don't think they're going to throw out everything that we have right now.
No. And I think, I mean, with the backs, you like Chuba.
I thought Hubbard played pretty well. I mean, he
did play well, but I like Sanders. I think ultimately he's going to put up pretty good numbers this year.
Well, we also just have to remember he didn't play a lot in the preseason either, so we didn't really see him at all. So this was really his first action with the team.
Yeah. I will say one thing that was uglier than the Panthers was my fantasy team. I started not Aaron Rodgers, which would have been the worst case scenario, but I started Joe Burrow, who put up exactly 4 points. So I lost.
Yeah, that's not a very big winning strategy, is it?
No. Also, I will tell you another thing. My very first player I took overall was Cooper Kupp, who is now on the IR. So I'm struggling. So hopefully he's just out the 4 weeks. And then he's back, and Burrow gets back to being Joe. We'll see. So.
Well, I thought I saw an infographic, and it showed the highest paid quarterbacks and what their ratings were.
Yeah.
And I think Patrick Mahomes was like a 77. Joe Burrow was in the 50s. I mean, for the top, Daniel Jones was in the 60s. It's crazy to think that he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks. And they got absolutely destroyed. I mean, 40-0. Gosh, you got to at least score a field goal or something. You're in the National Football League, but it just didn't happen for the Giants.
Is that because they just played a juggernaut who's going to roll through everybody this year?
No. No, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not talking about Dallas. I'm not going to do it.
I do not hate Dallas.
Craig, you're killing me.
I kind of like Dallas. At one point in time, I actually thought about, I'm just going to be a Dallas fan.
Oh no, don't.
Yeah, I was berated by a couple of buddies, so I stuck with the Panthers. But Dallas, I don't have a problem with them. A lot of people do.
I think it has something to do with my dad being a longtime Washington fan.
Well, that would absolutely do it right there.
And he just does not like the Cowboys. Sorry, Cowboys fans. If you are a Cowboys fan, I don't think they're America's team.
What should be Washington's nickname?
Gosh, I don't know if they should go back to what they had before. I'm not super happy with the Commanders.
Commanders is terrible.
I don't think it's a great name. I don't think it's a great name.
That's the stupidest thing they could have come up with.
To me, I honestly,
thought Washington football team sounded good.
Exactly.
Personally.
I thought Washington
that
football
was good.
team sounded really good. I liked the logo. I thought it was a good change. I thought that should have stuck. They also won Sunday, and so I think that's good. Coach Ron Rivera, I love Coach Ron Rivera. You know, he took the Panthers to the Super Bowl.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was
rude.
there for the ride.
That's rude.
I'm sorry. I can't stand John Fox, but I'll take John Fox over Ron Rivera.
I didn't mind either one of those.
Really?
Yeah. I am happy that Matt Rhule lost to Colorado, though.
I'm good at Matt Rhule loses every game he's ever takes part in for the rest of eternity.
I was telling someone the other day, I don't understand why he took a head coaching job, another one, like right now. He could have sat at home and done nothing and got paid the rest of his contract. He nullified that contract when he took another coaching job.
He's full of himself.
And for me, I'm like, dude, I would have sat at home and done nothing and got paid.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. I mean, why not? But I think he's full of himself. He thinks he's great. I think in his mind, he is just a great leader of men, and we'll see what he does. But he sure didn't do it in the NFL, that's for sure.
Well, to me, it's when he leaves and then he goes, well, I did that. I helped. They're not going to be able to win. And then the Panthers lose. He goes, see, told you, they're not going to be able to do anything for a long time. It's a bad situation. Like, no, Matt,
he put us in that situation.
You put us in this hole.
Well, Tepper put us in the hole.
I'm not going to go that far. I mean, I'm not a huge Tepper fan.
Tepper hired him.
But Tepper did hire him. I think he learned from that, though. I mean, this current staff is pretty solid.
We'll hopefully it's as good as we think. High school, Pisgah, undefeated.
I like it.
Yep. Who they roll into this week?
Smoky Mountain
tomorrow on TV.
Yeah, they're going to be on My 40, won't they?
On My 40. So Smoky's solid. Their quarterback, their quarterback that was supposed to be so good left in which Tuscola, so that hurts, I guess.
Well, I mean,
but
can't win them all.
Can't. But I think Smokey will play pretty decent, but I think Pisgah will win and keep going. So I don't know who Tuscola plays this week.
I mean, the quarterback has been playing really well for Pisgah. I mean, Aaron Clark has been absolutely unreal. I mean, he had a game with almost a perfect passer rating.
Shout out to Aaron Clark. His father and my father are first cousins.
Oh, hey, there you go.
So I hope he puts up stellar numbers the rest of the season. I think he's good. I think he's a good quarterback. So,
what is your kind of opinion on how Chappell has done since he's taken over for Coach Presley?
I
mean, they won a number of county clashes in a row. I mean, that's
they did. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like David Presley as a football coach. I think that I'm not going to throw him under a bus. I think a lot of people probably would, but I think
very close to winning a state championship a couple times.
Very close. I think that he made some, and I don't know if he would agree with this, but I was there. You were there. I think that there was some questionable play calls in that fourth round game in 2006.
Yeah.
Against Shelby. I think they're definitely by play calls by the coaching staff that could have gave us a lot better chance to win that game. But we've not been to the fourth round since. So, and that's been how long?
Well, it's been a few years, but I think a lot of that has to do with I think that a lot of that has to do with the classification that we play in. I mean,
that's true too, and that's another reason I hope they. Well, it sounds like they are going to expand. That's going to help Pisgah a lot.
I think so.
A whole lot, because it's harder. There are just special players and special athletes and special teams that come along. Don't get me wrong. But overall, as a whole, it's tougher to compete with the 3A teams that are further down the state.
Yeah, I'll agree.
I mean, for anybody in the mountains. I mean, it's not a knock on Pisgah. It's on everybody. I mean, it's not a knock. Or
I mean,
now,
what's the last mountain champion that we had? Was that Mountain Heritage in 1A a few years ago? I mean,
I think AC has won, but I mean, do they count? They kind of have a special. They've got a but I think did Mountain Heritage win it?
the Mountain Heritage has won a state championship in football in the past 20 years.
Well, Swain has won. I mean, not Swain. Murphy has won multiple.
Well, 1A is completely different. You're talking completely different football at that point. And then speaking of 1A, Tuscola played Swain last week and lost. Yeah. So I mean, Swain High School has been predominantly good at football for an extended amount of time.
Robbinsville's good usually. I mean, Murphy's good usually. I don't know what years they won. I know they have won multiple state championships, Robbinsville and Murphy. But outside of football, I mean, Pisgah men's basketball is the last state champion in basketball. I do know that.
Well, I was there for the last time we went.
I mean, you were there. So not only the last one to win, also the last one. I don't think I missed. Actually, no, I take that back. Hendersonville High School played in the 2A state championship 3 years ago and lost. 3 years ago. But Pisgah is still the last in 2005 to win it in that. So, that speaks of. I mean, that it's to me, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we tried really hard in 2008.
Yeah,
I mean it was close.
I'm going to say the same thing I said about the fourth round against Shelby football. I think that the coaching staff made some terrible decisions in that game. I don't think that game plan came together at all. I mean, if you would have played the way you played the round before, there would be 2 state championships in basketball in Pisgah.
Well,
all
I'm going to say, I'm going to leave it at this. When you shoot 1 for 16 in the first half and all of your points come from free throws,
well,
very hard to win a game.
That is true.
And honestly, the statistics, they came back to earth. I mean, we played better in the second half. West Bladen was just good. I was on the team. I was there. I saw what happened.
And I think they were better than expected too. I think
they had a kid that had the game of his life.
Yeah. And
hit a ton of outside shots.
And that big boy was good too.
And their center was outstanding.
Yeah.
We had a good group. Our team was very good. I thought we played well together. We beat Shelby in Wake Forest. And I mean, to me, that's one of the greatest sports moments of my entire life.
Oh, that was awesome.
But I mean, to go to Raleigh and play at Reynolds and to come out and honestly, the emotions and how everything felt, it didn't feel any different than us playing at home or us playing somewhere else or playing at Wake Forest the week before. It felt right. I mean, I don't think anybody felt off or, down or anything, but it just, we just didn't play well. I mean, that's what it boils down to. We just didn't play well. And they played very, very well. There's a reason they won and there's a reason we lost. So, I mean, my hat's off to them.
It happens.
And I've held by that opinion for the past 15 years probably.
I mean, it was still an incredible run.
It was. I mean, to be a part of that team is absolutely insane.
It's upsetting not to finish it out, but at the same time, it was still awesome. I mean, it was my senior year. I was there for every game. It was just a good way to end the senior year.
Well, in the way that the team dynamics of that team worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just something special to be a part of. And for me, I cherish those memories with those guys. And I mean, we're connected by that. And so there's anytime I see one of them, I think of those days and those practices and those games and just, it was fun. Like we had fun. It wasn't one of those deals where we were playing and there was a lot of pressure. It seemed like we were just going to roll the ball out on the court and whatever happened, and we were going to win.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the way it rolled. But when you've got five players that are averaging 10 points a game, I mean, you're just going to stack 50 on somebody and then be like, okay, can you outscore these five guys? And the answer for the most part was just no. Like, and we had people coming off the bench that were pretty solid. So I mean, it just wasn't one of those deals. And we would have some guy step up some nights and score 20 plus, and then, you know, how do we're hanging 60, 70 on you. How do you keep up with that?
Yeah.
So,
and I'll say too, like, every one of those starters played their part perfectly.
Oh yeah, everyone knew their role. I mean, and we played well together.
And it was a perfect line. I mean, honestly, it was a perfect lineup. There was every player was perfect in their spot.
They did exactly what they needed to do.
No, they did exactly what they needed to do. So that was cool.
To me, the coolest part of that whole run, and I know that we're nostalgic right now, was big shout out to Zach Hollifield.
Yeah.
Probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
No, I would agree.
And we're playing Starmount, and they have talked so much trash for like a week and a half. Just how we don't belong, like Pisgah doesn't deserve to be here. We have to go down to Fuquay Arena.
Yeah.
And play
which was crap.
Oh man, that gym
was crap.
It was bad. It was not a very Pisgah's nice. Pisgah's gym is really nice. It's not the Taj Mahal of basketball gyms in the state. I mean, there are a lot of nice, gyms, a lot of nice schools. But our gym made that place look like, a back street somewhere. Like that gym was about busted. And there's no other way to put it. Sorry to Fuquay Arena, but I mean, Forsyth County High School, but dadgum, y'all need to get some money in there and do something about that gym. But anyway, Zach Hollifield taking on Victor Davila, who went on to play at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And Zach just shut him down. And I can't remember a lot of that game because the atmosphere was just so crazy.
See, I did not make it to that game. It was a Wednesday night, and there was no way of getting down there that night. That's a good distance.
That's a long haul. That's a long haul from Canton down to almost past Fayetteville.
Yeah, but I was listening on the radio and nervous wreck. But the relief of the win, and then knowing I'm going to get to go watch Saturday was just awesome.
Yeah, and you get to go to Wake Forest.
Get to go to, and I love that. I love Lawrence Joel.
Lawrence Joel is amazing.
Such a nice place.
And to set foot and actually played minutes at at Joel. To look up and see the giant tie-dye Wake Forest thing above your head on the scoreboard is honestly top 10 sports moment for me.
That's awesome.
It's absolutely insane.
But that Shelby, because literally nobody said you could win.
Yeah, they had written us all off, and we didn't listen to any of that. I mean, we weren't sitting in the locker room and listening to people and going, "There's no way we're going to beat Shelby," or like, "Man, like we've got a chip on our shoulder because they don't think we can beat Shelby." I didn't really feel that kind of pressure at all. It was just, we're going to play our game. We're going to do what we need to do.
That summer, though, basically the core of the team had played them in AAU ball and won.
Yeah.
It already happened.
Yeah.
Once. And then that's what I was kept, people already have no chance. Well, they've already beat them once.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a totally different game. It's not the same. High school ball and AAU ball is different. But we clearly are not just going to be outmatched.
Yeah, that's very true. And that game was very close. It was a very close game.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to hit on probably two more things.
Let's do it
on this podcast.
We might have just bored. We
probably just lost the whole audience right there with that diatribe. But I don't care. Probably one of the greatest moments in my life. And I know that a lot of people were like, "Well, you must have peaked in high school." No, I don't think so.
No, that's not.
I don't think so. That's not it at all. Western, man, they looked really bad against Arkansas. Come out to play Samford at home. It was a whiteout. They ended up coming away with a victory after a 5.5 hour long rain delay.
How many fans stayed?
So it was really interesting. I watched that game on television, and I waited around the whole 5.5 hours for it to come back on.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't. Now I will say this: I watched other games. I didn't just sit there and watch the Western feed and like, well, when's it gonna come back? No, I watched the end of the App in the Carolina game. Kind of very torn on the results of that, but you know,
I was depressed. I was so hopeful. I really was. I was like, this is really and this is why it hurt me a little more because if they lost, I knew that really helped Duke out. And Duke's immediately going to jump them in the polls, and all these Carolina fans and all the Carolina team as oh man, we're the greatest, blah 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 blah. You know, and here comes Duke out of nowhere. Really not out of nowhere. If anybody's been paying attention, Duke was going to have a solid year no matter what. But that Clemson win just kind of showed what they're capable of. And I wanted that chance, but we missed it, so it's okay.
Well, for me, I was the other inverse. I wanted the kid to hit the field goal, and he missed it. Because, I mean, I don't know how much you like Duke, but I've got 2 degrees from Western.
I get that.
I bleed some purple, man.
And I get that, and I like Western a lot. I attended online for a semester, so I bleed. I got a little drop.
Yeah, you got a little drop. You got a little drop, and I know. And people will go, "You guys don't play him anymore. You don't play him anymore." It doesn't matter. It does not matter to me at all. It's just one of those things, and I think a lot of it has to do with me being from Pisgah. I can't do anything black and yellow. Like it just I can't do it. It's not in my wheelhouse. So, and honestly, it was a good game. Whoever came out the winner on that, it was going to be a good game, and I think it just came down to UNC just a little bit better.
So, do you have a conniption if you see the Steelers too?
Yeah, I don't like them. Nope. I like Kenny Pickett, but I mean, nah, not a huge Steelers fan. But anyway, so Western they started out that game with the ball. They ran it down to the 1. And then they got just stoned on offense. The Samford defense bowed up, and they forced them to turn the ball over on downs on the Samford 1 yard line. And then Samford has a great quarterback named Ayers, and he just marched Samford down the field and scored 7 on them real quick, like maybe 5-6 plays. And I thought, gosh, this is not looking good. Yeah. And then Western came back out. They ran the ball again. Colombo and Reed, they both looked really good. The sophomore quarterback, Cole Gonzalez, he played really well. They score 7-7. They force Samford to punt. Western gets the ball back. They score again, so now it's 14-7. I'm like, okay, like we're rolling, like we're moving along. It's about halfway through the second quarter before the rain delay, and then Ayers, Samford gets the ball back. They're driving down the field. He decides to scramble, breaks loose. Jalen Davis comes from across the field and absolutely annihilates him. I mean, just helmet to the center of the chest. He fumbles. Western gets the ball back, and then they go on a 5.5 hour rain delay break. So all of that momentum, I was like, oh, no. Like, this can either go one of 2 ways. Either we just lost all that momentum, and now this game is over, or we're going to come back out and they're still going to be riding high because we are at home and they're going to get this W. And sure enough, they came back out after that 5.5 hour rain delay and they did not miss a beat. And when they first started, they panned over E.J. Whitmire Stadium and there wasn't hardly anybody there. And then all of a sudden, Western scores a touchdown and they pan back over and there's like 700, 800 students back in the student section. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's okay. And then Western just went on to win. And so they're starting to get votes to be in the top 25 of the FCS. So I'm really excited for this team. Sweet. They're going to play Eastern Kentucky this weekend. That's a tough opponent in the FCS. So hopefully if Western can keep on rolling, they can get some momentum. I mean, they're starting off conference really well. I mean, that was the SoCon game of the week, first conference game of the year for the SoCon, and Western came out on top. So I'm really excited for this club. I think Kerwin Bell's doing a great job. They've been pretty solid the past couple of years, but I think that it might all culminate here at the 2023 campaign for the Catamounts.
Who is who like what's the predicted order of the SoCon? Do you know?
What was that? Like, what's
the predicted order? Like, what was the preseason?
The preseason? I think
stuff.
I want to say that one of those Iowa teams is up there at the top. They're usually really good.
Of the SoCon. The SoCon itself.
SoCon?
Yeah.
I think they picked Sanford to win the SoCon.
Oh, and Western already beat them.
Western already beat them, yeah. Or either Sanford or Furman. Furman's supposed to be really good this year.
Well,
so
where do they play Furman at?
They play Furman at home. I think they play Furman at home. Let me find out. I think I can't remember the schedule off the top of my head. I'm just excited that they freaking beat Sanford. And
yeah, I mean, that's great.
I mean, it's a huge deal. So they are going to play they play Furman at home. Let me pull up the whole schedule here, and we can look through it. So they play Eastern Kentucky this Saturday, and then on the 23rd, they're going to play Charleston Southern at Western, and then they will travel to the Citadel on September 30th. They'll travel to Chattanooga on October the 7th. They'll play Furman at home on October 21st. They'll play Mercer at home. That's homecoming on October 28th. Then they'll play Wofford at Wofford on November 4th. Then the Battle of the Border with East Tennessee State on November 11th. That will be held at Western Carolina. And then they round out the regular season with VMI on the road on November 18th. So,
are you going
to homecoming?
To any of them?
To any of them? I was thinking about trying to go to the East Tennessee State one. I think that one probably works out date-wise best for me. I would love to go to HOCO. I think homecoming is a great event at Western. They do a lot of cool stuff during homecoming. Yeah, they have a parade. They do. Yeah, it's a big deal. And then they do the homecoming king and queen. They have a ball. I mean, it's homecoming at Western is a big deal. You get to see Pride of the Mountains marching band. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, big shout out to my two alma maters in this show. So
yeah,
let's go Catamounts. So the last topic that we were going to talk about, and we were talking about this before the show started, is youth sports. It's been brought up in a couple of message boards that me and Craig are both a part of, and I thought it would be a good topic to kind of end the show on. So there's been a big to-do about players getting the amount of playing time that they deserve in youth sports. And for me, I'm in the camp of it's youth sports. It's cool if they win, but hey, if they don't win, it's not that big a deal. It's youth sports. And I understand that people may want to say, you know what, it's important for us to win. It's important for these smaller communities to have these titles. But at the end of the day, youth sports should be about building the fundamentals for each player. And in this case, it's a pay-to-play system. I mean, you're paying a fee to be on a team. You should get some in-game experience, and that's just my opinion. I understand that the best players need to play, especially in key situations, but also it's a learning experience for these kids. And I think if you're going to learn to play a sport correctly, I think that you need to be able to have meaningful snaps under your belt. And I get it. Once you move to middle school, it's no longer, middle school is kind of where this changes. Youth sports, I think everyone should get to play. I mean, if you win, you win. If you don't, okay, let's move on to the next game. You learn from those and you try to get better. And if you have an athlete that, I feel like in youth sports that's not getting the amount of playing time that they deserve, I mean, those coaches are there for your resources. You can talk to them and say, what does my kid need to do better at? Or how can they improve? Or what do they need to do to earn more playing time? And that can be said in any organized sport, whether that be middle school, high school, and on up. But it really shifts for me once you start to getting to middle school where you start having cuts for the first time.
Right.
And for me, I've been through those emotions, and it's not fun to cut kids. It's not fun to get cut. Frankly, it sucks. I mean, on both sides. That's really the only way that I can say it. It is not a very fun task from the coach's side or from the player's side.
Right.
But if you're very passionate about a particular sport, you can do things to improve. And so for me, if it, like I've said, if it's youth sports, everyone should get to play. Once you get to middle school, I mean, your playing time is going to be earned and the best players are going to play. So that's really kind of my opinion on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think these kids, like you said, they pay to be there. They're there to practice. If you're not going to give everybody equal playing time, and I'm not saying they need equal playing time, but I think playing time in general, they should get something. Do a fifth quarter. You know, how hard is it to do a fifth quarter? Let these kids that don't get to play get out there for an entire quarter and play, and at least show what they're capable of doing. I think that would be one way to kind of resolve all that.
I think that's a fair compromise between the two positions.
Yeah.
For me, I think that it personally, I mean, it's cool to, and this is coming from a space of where I played on some youth teams that were not very good growing up. I mean, when I was in the Yancey County, youth league organization, there were some years where you were on a team that was really good because we had a lot of kids just in Yancey County. We didn't play other counties a whole lot unless it was in soccer or football. And we didn't really start football until you were in the third or fourth grade. So it's very different from how Haywood County is structured and from how other counties are structured across North Carolina. But in Yancey County, you played soccer until you were in the third grade. For safety reasons. I mean,
that makes sense.
It's legitimate. I mean, I know that they'll say concussions are just as bad in soccer, but when you're a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, you're not doing headers.
No,
that's not a skill that you are very good at that age. So
right, exactly.
A lot of it was just learning to play on a team. So for me, learning to play football at a little bit of an older age, I thought that was very beneficial. But we were on some basketball teams and some baseball teams that sometimes were not very good, and sometimes you didn't get to play in the playoffs and do that kind of thing, or get very far in the playoffs in the Yancey County Youth League organization. And so for me, like seeing how just those two different counties work their youth leagues, I mean, everybody got to play. I mean,
that's interesting.
I mean, you just if you were on the team, you got playing time. And that was how it was. And I mean, if there were some teams that were a lot better than other teams, and they did it very fairly. So Yancey County, I would see this because my dad coached some in the youth league. They would have a draft. So what they would do is, like, of course, like me, I was on my dad's team because my dad coached automatically. So they would, then look at whose sons, daughters were coached by the coaches, and they would automatically be on their team, and then they would put everybody else into a bucket, and they would just draft them out, and that was your team.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool to do it that way.
I mean, that wouldn't work how the Haywood County set up at all.
No, it wouldn't.
But that is cool to know that that's how they did it. I think that's kind of a cool way to do it.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they did it wasn't like they did a draft. It wasn't like they had a draft board and they were ranking players. It was more or less like they drew numbers from a hat, and then that was the order, and then whoever they drew, that was just who your team was. And then and then if it was some instance like where it just happened to fall that way, where one team was going to be very stacked, they would then break that team up. They wanted it to be as even as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very fair way to do it.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, I agree. I had a team. This was not in youth league. This was in church league. And they were supposed to divide the teams up evenly. Well, I got like absolutely the most stacked team possible.
Hold on, you've got they're coming for you. You got some sirens.
They're on their way right now. I don't even see where they're at. Uh-oh. EMS. I don't want that one to come after me. I don't want any of them to come after me, but I don't know what's worse, going to the hospital because they're coming to get you or going to jail. I don't know.
Well, if you go to jail, you get 3 square meals a day and a bed.
you might get to, yeah, that's okay. Fair enough. But this thing, like, it was just stats. They didn't keep score, but of course I kept score. And we beat every team we scored like 50 or 60 points every game, and these other teams were like under 20.
Oh, wow.
And it was fun.
Well, yeah.
it was fun. And the kids had a blast. Are we winning? And then yeah, we're winning. What do you think? Don't tell them kids that we're destroying them. So it was fun. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of thing about youth sports, especially earlier on, you want these kids to love the sport for the sport. And if you're beating them down and I'm not saying this is happening. I don't know the situation. I just know what I had read. But if these, some of these kids, if they don't get playing time, they're going to ever care again. And maybe they would have never done anything in sports. But at the same time, you still want them, in my opinion, to feel a part of something, especially at a young age. And what does it really hurt if they get some minutes in a game? It doesn't.
No,
so,
and for me, I think that there needs to be a mental kind of clarity thing, not just for the parent, but also for the athlete in this situation too. Like team sports, that's good. It's good to know how to be a part of a team.
Yeah,
I think that's important. That's an important skill to have. That's good for your life down the road.
Yeah,
but I also think that there's a lot of value in individual sports.
Yeah,
like cross country, wrestling, tennis.
That's fair.
Golf, like those things teach you to be very self-reliant. And so at the end of the day, when you go back and you look at your performance, there's really no one else to hold accountable except yourself.
Yeah, that's
and so
true.
For me, like me personally, I am very more geared toward individual sport. Like I was part of a lot of great teams, like we've said before. I've been I like team sports. I think they're great. But for me, my mental stability and the way that I can approach those particular games and sports, I excel at those a lot more, because then I know at the end of the day, I'm the one that's accountable. It's on me. Like, this isn't, I'm not letting somebody else down. And I think that those mental kind of hurdles for every person, I think that needs to be kind of flushed out. I mean, if you're like me and I'll be honest about this, in high school, I was very anxious when I would play, because I didn't want to let anybody down. And that's just the way my personality is. And so for me, I think that had a big negative impact on the way that I see team sports. So for me, I think I would have thrived a little bit better doing an individual type deal. So and again, that's just my opinion. I haven't been clinically diagnosed with anything. So
we're gonna diagnose you right here on the show.
Thank you, Dr. Crane.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say something else about what was posted. Sometimes parents like to be crybabies, and that's not a shot at anybody, but sometimes they do. And sometimes parents don't maybe see things how they actually are, because they're seeing it through, they're not seeing it from both sides. Maybe there's something lost in translation. I don't know. So there's one aspect. Second aspect, I do, while I think, it's fair to play everybody, at the same time, if you're wanting to be competitive and have a competitive league, which our leagues are, youth up, they're competitive and they want to win. And I understand that. And I mean, I think if you're going to play a sport, you want to win. And if you're getting down to crunch time, even if you have to play every player, I think you need to have your best players in to win the game at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that.
I still think that. And if that means little Johnny gets to play 10 minutes less than it did last week because we need
ball Bobby to be in.
I was going to say Big Johnny, but I couldn't think of nothing else. We need Bobby in there because Bobby is better at this right now.
Yeah.
Bobby gives us the best chance to win this game. Bobby needs to be in there then.
And I think that that's an important lesson to learn just for being in team sports. I mean,
yeah, I see both sides. I see how the parent wants their kids to play. I see that, but I see the want to win for everybody else. Like it's not fair. It's not fair to the kids. If you really think about it, the kids that put you in the best position to win at one certain time, it's not very fair to them to not be in there either and be able to make the plays that need to be made to win the game because you have to play the kids that are currently not on their level just for fairness. That's not right either. So, I mean, I think it's a difficult topic overall, really. I mean, you're going to make somebody upset no matter what. Yeah,
this is a lose-lose. And I think it's important to remember also that, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it's important. It's important also for the parents to remember that those coaches are people too. I mean, they're not they're not out there being vindictive or a lot of people will say, "Oh, there's a lot of politics going on." Like honestly, in youth league, no. Like it's not there. I mean,
and in youth league, another thing I'll say, a lot of these coaches have been in this youth league program for 20, 30 years. It's not like their son and their daughter are the ones on this team. These guys are dedicating their time to come out there and coach this certain age group, and some of them have dedicated a lot of time to that. They are not, like you said, they are not out there playing politics. They are not out there to hurt your child in any way.
I fully agree.
They're out there to teach the game. And so it's not fair. I'm sure there's a one or two, I don't know all of them personally, but as a whole, I think they're not, there's always, and I'm not even saying in this county, but I'm sure somewhere in youth sports, there's somebody out there trying to cause an issue. But, as a whole, I think the group that is in this county, their goal is to love on these kids and do the best by these kids. That's what I think.
I mean,
I know a lot of the coaches down there, and they're good people. I mean, I would have no problem letting my kid play with these coaches.
I fully agree.
So, I think, if it becomes too big of an issue, a fifth quarter doesn't hurt. And maybe you could even have every single game has a fifth quarter and you have fifth quarter record. Does that make sense? Like the winner of this year's fifth quarter was so-and-so team. They won fifth quarter overall. Like that would be a cool thing to do. And that gives these kids that don't maybe give the same amount of playing time something to actually try to strive for and make strides and be better. Get a little skin in the game. So I don't know. We're not going to solve the world's problems today.
Well, we can sure try.
Believe me, I could harp all day on some stuff and I could solve it. I could solve it all. But we don't have time for that right now. So
no. Well, I mean, that's about all the time we've got for this week's episode. We want to thank you for stopping by the show. Absolutely. If you've joined us. Remember, comment, like, subscribe, share here on 110 Broadcasting on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to check out the podcast on, other platforms, I think we're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, I mean, Amazon Music. Pretty much anywhere you get podcasts, this show lives there.
Yeah.
So
and get us some questions. We'd love to, comment and give us some topics you'd like to hear us talk about. And just for the record, I was not attacking or trying to offend anyone in any of my answers.
I was not either. I was just giving.
If anything comes off like that, it was not intended. I think everybody's great.
Yeah, and I think
I mean, really,
I think that Haywood County, and this is just from my opinion, I didn't play youth sports in Haywood County.
Yeah.
I moved to the area when I was in middle school. So for me, I wasn't a part of, the mites and the termites and midgets for football. Right. But I've seen, my brother I've seen the way that they operate. And to me, it's a great organization. I think that the youth league does a really good job in Haywood County, and it's teaching them to be better young people. And that's the most important thing. And it is very successful.
It is very successful. The way they've done things for years has been an extremely good model, and there's no reason just to, because somebody gets your feelings hurt, throw it away. So,
yeah. And so for me, I think that's about it. I mean, again, like,
That's
comment,
it.
subscribe, share. 110 Broadcasting, David Stiles, along with Craig Messer. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to leave us a comment or something. If you want to hear us discuss other topics, like Craig said, we're more than happy to do that as well. We thank you for joining us here on this new adventure, and I guess Craig, we'll talk a little bit next week. Any really closing remarks other than that?
No. Fins up. How's that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Go Catamounts, right? All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.